All right. Well, Cam lied. He's not here. I'll leave the show like that. But I'm just kidding. Actually, Cam's not feeling the greatest today.
What a shame.
But I guess we get to make up for it with BJ actually showing up for one of these. So how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm happy to be here, and like I told you, when the slate is as good as it is here this week and next week,
Yeah, wait
well,
until there's some clout behind a week, and then I'll show up. That's what we gotta do, huh?
I mean, you fully should expect that in order to get a big time guest like myself, you got to give me a big time slate like the one we have this week.
Yeah. Or just setting an alarm. That's a good idea too. That seems to
Well,
be what
actually,
works for you is setting an alarm.
actually, you'll be pleasantly surprised to know
You didn't
that
use
I
it
woke
today?
up. Well, no, I set one, but I woke up a full 2 minutes before my alarm went off.
That means you woke up at 8:58, not 9 o'clock
That is
this
correct.
morning.
That is absolutely correct.
His time, not my time. But anyways,
Yes,
uh,
yes.
I mean, we got such a great day of college football upcoming, and I apologize if you can hear the dog gnawing a bone beside me, but you have to
I
deal
mean,
with it.
at least it's not on something else. That's all I'll say.
I guess so. Um, I mean,
Has
first off,
that ever
I
happened where the dog was like licking down there while you were recording or live, and it was like audible?
what, dude? Can you fucking? We're 2 minutes in, not even. And you're saying some fucking stupid shit like that. Come
Well,
on,
I
dude.
thought you said the first like half of this was just gonna be a bunch of
Yeah,
poop
but it wasn't
crap.
meant to be like that. I was gonna ask you how you're doing. I was gonna ask you how
Oh,
your football season's
oh,
going as a high school
oh.
broadcaster. But no,
Well,
we gotta say some
after
dumbass shit.
after last night,
Probably
that's
about halfway over after last night, I would
well,
say.
dude, we got 3 games to go in the regular season, basically.
Yeah,
We
I would
played.
say you guys
We
are probably done for those
no,
three.
so there's a path to the playoffs, but you basically have to go and win two of your last three. And I mean, it's been a tough schedule.
Five and
They
five gets
scheduled
you
it
to the playoffs.
well. It so what you do in the non-district play, what you do outside of conference, essentially doesn't matter. So it all matters what you do in district play. So a record of 3-3 in district could absolutely get you into the postseason.
Hmm.
And there are two games that are, not necessarily gimmies, but they are there for the taking. And you get one of them at home, and the other is not that far of a road game. So if you can, win both of those games after a much needed bye week. So there's a game this week that's on the road that's not as far away either, much needed bye week. And then basically you go in, if you're worst case scenario, you go into your final 2 games, 1-3 in district play. If you win the last 2 games, everything that I'm looking at around the rest of the district, that should be what you need to get into the postseason. So,
I
why
don't know.
is Kirk Herbstreit in the back of a car with the microphone? Is he? Because are they
Oh,
taking
they got
him
him in a
to?
convertible. They're taking him to the airport.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Because he's
He's
got to
going
get to
to.
Dallas, so they got
Yeah.
him in the airport.
Well, that's why I was
In the
like, I
car.
didn't even think he was going to be on
I
game
thought he
this
was.
week.
I thought
So,
as soon as he left, like he was off. But apparently, they got him rolling.
they're
Who's
going to
holding
talk
the
to him
kick
while he's
today?
on the. What's that?
Who's gonna hold the kick today?
Dez probably,
Hmm.
unless they just did it in the
Unless
first
Saban
hour.
does. No, they didn't do it yet.
I was about to say I didn't think they did,
No,
but
they'll be doing
I
it here in
haven't
about
turned it
five,
on.
10 minutes. But huh,
Okay, of course I hold it.
he's not even there.
I know, which is disappointing.
They got the
But
Hilltopper helmet right in front of Stanford Steve.
I mean the booby helmet.
No, that's not what it looks like.
That is absolutely what it looks like. Don't even lie and
It
say
looks,
that it doesn't.
looks like two eyeballs.
It looks like something, and maybe not two eyeballs, but oh man.
They look like an old cartoon. Old black and white cartoons.
I mean, they kind of
Oh,
look like that, but they kind
no,
of look
but
like the other thing too.
um,
But
I mean, we got.
apparently there was a truck that was driving around Dallas yesterday that had one of those electronic signs on it, and it said ATF is gay.
Why would it
Oh
say that?
man.
Actually, you know what? I don't care. It would. We'll go past that. Um, so your high school football season is half over, probably
Over halfway over, yeah.
at this
We're
point.
7 in with 3 games in the next 4 weeks, and then potentially one or two more playoff games if they can make it.
Fair enough. Now, what's the plan after that? You got basketball you're doing? I know you did some last year.
I hope not. I really hope not. But no, I haven't been told. I did basketball last year. We did like half of the district slate. But last year, because there was last year I did 15 football games. I did like 8 9 basketball games, and then basically from the uh, next to last non tournament game of the year for baseball until the state championship game. Like
Right.
I was busier than an MFer with everything that I did broadcast wise last year. So it was like when we got to summer, I was like, oh, finally some much needed rest and relaxation. So
Yeah.
I will, I take the success that we had, if especially if there'd been a
Especially if they
way
could
to win
actually
one
have
more
won it.
game. Baseball, yeah,
Yeah,
one
could
more
have
win.
actually
Baseball
done
would have
that.
been awesome. Two more wins. Football would have been cool too, but it wasn't in the cards. But either way, I mean, it's very rare that you get to be a part of two teams that make deep runs like that in the same calendar year, and for
Right.
it to be two different schools that I was, working with that made those runs, and then as as rough of a basketball season as it was for the team that I broadcast for, they still ended up making it to the playoffs. And, it was really just a great coaching job for them to get there, even though they didn't win a playoff game. Just the fact that they got there was a testament of, our coaches, um, you know, coaching last season. And so it was a really good, year in terms of success, but it definitely kept me busy. So if we can, maybe not necessarily do basketball this year, I will be okay,
Won't be
or
too
maybe
upset.
lessen the workload. But I also last year did a couple of college basketball radio broadcasts in November.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember that. That's what I was more so getting at. I didn't really remember you doing a bunch of the high school stuff. I know you
yeah,
did, but I didn't really remember as much
yeah,
of
we did
that
we did
conversation.
high school in January, but yeah, it was so there was a couple of weeks that I had a basketball game early in the week and then a football game late in the week, a playoff game last November. So that was, and the basketball, of course, like I said, was at the collegiate level and it kept me busy. So it was good all in all. Good time. I have not heard if
Are
that's
we doing
something
any of
that's
that?
going to open up again for me this year. I looked at the schedule and I don't really see a whole lot of, like conflicts, but there might be, and there might be some travel if they needed that. But I don't know if they would want to have me travel because the whole reason that I was able to fill in last year to do it was that our main guy that was broadcasting for Commerce was on the road with one of the teams, and I was actually back, at home, and we, did the home games that were being played by the other team. So I did one women's game and two men's games last year
Right.
uh, while Charles was on the road with the men for the first game, and then he did two women's road games that were on the road as well.
So, all right, we've got some comments coming in, and I'm gonna defer some of these answers to you.
Okay.
So this guy in my con, he's been around a while now, but this guy's name's Cam. I don't know if you know him or not.
Oh wow, man!
But
I
his
really
first
wish I
one,
could say I knew Cam.
his first one says, "I didn't know BJ could wake up before 3 on a Saturday."
On a Saturday, 3?
Yeah. I mean, I
3
I know you
p.m.
haven't been necessarily around before about
Yeah, but
3 p.m. on
I
Saturdays.
never wake up, later than like 11:15, and it just really
15? You
depends
missed
on the
15
slate.
minutes of games?
Dude, with the games and how long game day goes, I don't miss much action at all.
That's a shame. Oh, dude, Saban's holding it.
Oh man, this is gonna be so much fun.
That's crazy. Anyways, the second question, he was asking what college you were doing the broadcasting for, and he said, I say Texas A&M Dallas.
Not quite. I appreciate the effort. That's a good one. No, in fact, just this week, I don't know if you're aware of this, Cam, but the the university president came out and said that he has put forth a notion to the board of regents to at
Not
their
do that.
next meeting. What's up?
To not do that.
No, 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 no. They're gonna change the name if the board of regents agrees to put it on the November like quorum that they have, and if so, they will change the name to East Texas A&M University. So, which
Okay.
is I think the biggest thing that a lot of the alumni and students, if we're saying if they wanted the uh, the name to change, that's the one that it should be because it honors the roots that of East Texas that go back to when the university opened back in 1889.
Oh, okay.
So I'm actually really okay
So I've
with
seen
that.
the
I'm
I've
excited
seen
for it.
the what's the demographic of
Uh
people
huh.
that go to that university. Do they just let anybody in there, or how does that place work?
I mean, it's not anybody, but it's. Ooh, he shanked that one. Wide left.
Damn. I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
give him one more, maybe.
I think they will for 100 grand. By the way, nice Pepsi can.
Thanks, thanks.
Welcome.
I enjoyed the cherry Pepsi. That's nice.
That's pretty good.
It's a good one. I tried the Oreo Coke last night. Obviously, I tried
Yeah.
the Coke flavored Oreos earlier
Hmm.
this week, and the Coke wasn't as good. But it only comes in zero sugar, and I'm not a zero sugar fan
Yeah, I'm not
in terms
either.
of soda. I mean, it wasn't bad by any means, but it just wasn't my thing. So
So I've still got to find the Coke Oreo and try that. Okay.
I didn't have too
Saban's
much
doing a
trouble
good
finding
job.
them. Like we eventually found them.
Okay. Where'd you get them? Walmart?
Publix, I think.
Okay.
I'd
Well,
have
we
to
don't have
ask the one who's been doing the shopping.
Publix.
Oh, we made that one. That was easy. Damn.
Good kick. Yeah. You think they intentionally missed the first one so they have the shot at the second one for 100 grand and then they like
But you don't always know you're gonna get the shot. You know what I mean?
that's true.
I
That's
mean
true.
that he drilled that. That wasn't
Yeah.
even like a question mark like some of these have been.
Right.
He that was good
Right.
from
Probably from
maybe
35.
maybe 38, maybe.
Yeah. Just just had enough to get it over.
That's badass. Good for him, man. Good for him.
Good for him.
Omar in the
And
chat. I see you
staying
every
under
week.
the
How
hose.
you doing, man? Glad to see you in here. Cam, what a kick, of course. It
Yep.
certainly was. And college game day is legendary. I mean, it's just been fun. And Herbie in the car. back to you in the car. Are they going to get him on while he's on the plane? Oh, dude, that'd be awesome if they
If
do.
they could get him on while he's on the plane, dude, that would be awesome. Because
Let's see.
he could talk about all the games as long as he doesn't like give a pick for Texas OU. He could give picks for the other games, even in the
Yeah,
jet.
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what game day looks like the rest of the way through.
Like
But
this would be, I think, like the craziest technological uh, game day I've seen. If they get
I mean, it
home,
already is.
launch
He's
them
in
with
the
jet.
car,
I know.
and they're just down the road and like nothing's going on.
Yeah.
And what are they
When did
connected
he
to?
leave?
Huh?
When did he leave?
About an hour ago.
Okay. So he was there for the first hour and then he took off.
Yeah.
How
All
far is
right.
the airport? Like, it feels like they would have
Well,
gotten him
I
to
don't
the
know if you know
airport.
this, but Oregon's kind of a
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I guess he's got to go to Portland for to fly out from, but they
probably
got the
probably to get something
they
like that.
got the
But
jet.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like Eugene does have an airport. I'm confused. I
You
don't
would
really
think.
know. I don't know. Anyways, let's go ahead and get through some of today's slate. Why don't we? Where it's
All right.
about 10 after 11. We got maybe another half hour to go. So some of these
Mm-hmm.
games we're going to take our time. Some of these games we're not. And obviously we start with Clemson Wake Forest. That's a noon game for the ACC. And
Wait, this game is still going on. I thought they went ahead and ruled that Clemson wins via the mercy rule.
maybe. I mean, who knows? There's been times where Clemson's had some trouble with the Wake Forest offense, and then there's been times where they haven't. The times where they have, the guy that was at quarterback for Wake Forest at the time, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
walking back to that door. And even the same,
No.
really, the guys that you could go back to like John Wolford. Those guys aren't walking through the door. Hank Bachmeier's been solid, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks, but I don't see any real way that Clemson doesn't just kind of pull away. This offense has been explosive over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm excited to see how they continue because it feels like the more they continue to gain this confidence, the better they look. I think Clemson drops 40 plus. I think Wake probably scores a handful too, but really bought into
I'm
this
gonna.
Clemson team right now. I got them in my top 10 even.
Yeah, I think they've been. I think I said the same thing last week. Even after the Florida State game was not quite necessarily what they were wanting. Um,
That's not what you were
they
wanting, but I mean, what more
no
did you expect from them? They went out and they dominated and they won by
no
won by multiple
yeah
scores.
yeah
They did what they needed to do, and it's not.
yeah.
Everybody acts like Florida State's just bad because the offense has been bad. The offense gave SMU a lot of opportunities a couple weeks ago that were
Mhm.
not given to Clemson, and the crowd
Right.
fed into that defense, and they played well. I mean, it's really hard to be upset with anything that was done by Clemson in
Absolutely.
this game.
Absolutely.
So
By the way, a Clemson win today would be their 16th straight over Wake Forest, which would be a new longest winning streak by one of these teams in the rivalry, if you can call it such. 71, 17, and 1 all time in favor of Clemson. And I expect that that winning streak will continue for the Tigers today. I'm thinking Clemson big. I don't think that Wake is able to, hang around offensively. I think they could, I think
I
they
got
could.
Clemson covering in my take 10. I mean,
Yeah,
so it's been
yeah,
it's been an interesting few weeks for them and being in that conversation.
absolutely. I mean, you go back to how good they've looked ever since the Georgia game. I mean, killing App State, um, you know, killing NC State, and then taking care of Stanford before last week's game at Florida
But they
State. I mean,
dominated Stanford too. I mean, it just
yeah,
at no point have
yeah,
they not looked in control since that game. And really, it was
absolutely,
just the second half of the Georgia game. The first half, it was 6-0
right.
or 6-3, one of the two. And it was actually a close game, and then all of a sudden things kind of got out of hand. We'll see. We'll see what they look like going forward.
Right.
No concerns for today. We'll go kind of quick through the rest of the slate. This game, I mean, we can take some time on it, but I don't really feel the need to. I think Georgia Tech is going to go in. I know this game's in Chapel Hill, but I think they're going to go in and take care of North Carolina today. North Carolina's defense has been pretty porous again. I mean, just very similar last year, and changes were made. Doesn't look like there's too much different. The North Carolina offense is hit or miss, whether or not they're getting things going,
Mhm.
and we'll see what they can do. But they're 0-2 in conference play, and they're on a 3-game losing streak that started back with that 70-50 loss to JMU. They lost at Duke after blowing a 20-point lead, and then Pitt pretty much controlled that game. I think this game is going to be
Mhm.
very similar. Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything less. I'm really surprised because Georgia Tech opened up as a 6 point favorite, and now it's all the way down to 3.5. Is North Carolina still having to use their fourth string quarterback like they were last week? Because I just don't expect that it's going to be
I mean,
a whole lot different.
I think it's still Jacoby Criswell. It was their third string quarterback, but he's been around for this team for a little while. So
Yeah. Either way, I just don't think they're going to have enough. Haynes King is going to be able to do what he wants against this North Carolina defense. I'm going to take Georgia Tech as well.
we got Stanford and Notre Dame at 3:30 on NBC. Not to take too much away from Stanford, I think they've been really solid. They've been much better than we've expected them to be. Notre Dame, on the other hand, I think they're going to come in. I think they're going to control. This is where we start to see kind of that rhythm get put into place. I think Notre Dame's going to walk out of here 5-1. I don't know if I'm taking. I don't know if I like them so much to cover. I'm going to take that because they're at home, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Here's the biggest thing, and I'm. This is really where Notre Dame needs to step up and make a statement because the way that things have been going for Notre Dame, you have very similar uh, comparisons to 2022 and how that started. Where it started off with the loss in week one. This one actually a win against Texas A&M, a really good team, and then they followed up with losing to Marshall. This year it was NIU at home in week two, and then they had the Stanford game, which they should have won, and they didn't. So, a big time testament to proving that they're not kind of in that, lackadaisical rhythm that the 2022 team got bogged down by. Notre Dame, I expect to win this game, but I think I'm right there with you in taking Stanford to cover just barely.
They're with me. I took Notre Dame to cover, but
Oh, okay. Well,
Cal and Pitt, 3:30 on ESPN. This game being played in Acrisure Stadium. I've been extremely impressed with Eli Holstein throughout the entirety of this season. He's come out and been really solid in this offense that just likes to go fast. And we've seen Des Reed be really good. They got back Rodney Hammond last week. I think Pitt's going to roll in this one. I like Cal, but I don't them on the road versus them at home. I don't know that. I think they'll be able to hang around. I think their offense is a little too one dimensional. Pitt likes to create a lot of turnovers. I think that this is going to be another statement maybe from Pitt. They'd be 6-0, by the way.
the biggest thing is for Cal, you had a very big opportunity last week, and it was not necessarily one that was just decided by officiating, even though there were some very questionable things, but that can happen in any game, so you cannot necessarily take away from it. What really was the big takeaway is just how over the course of the second half, Cal was just not able to get their defense enough rest to really hold on to that big 20-point lead in the fourth quarter and allowed Miami to come
I mean,
back
yeah,
and
you
win
can't
that
be up
game.
35-10 at half and then lose 39-38.
Right.
Whether or not there was a miss targeting call, which so be it.
There was.
I don't want to
Yeah.
see a team get bailed out on 4th and 15.
No.
And a play that really was nowhere close to a first down either. I mean, if it was close and then, so be it. They didn't deserve the call. It's very similar to the Michigan game with TCU. Like, we didn't deserve to win that game, and we certainly didn't deserve to be bailed out on some bullshit targeting call on 4th and whatever the fuck it was, where JJ mishandled a snap and all kinds of things went wrong anyways. So I don't mind it. Don't be in that position where you need that
Right.
to go and win a game.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a
And
shame, but things happen,
yeah.
and they're going to go on the road and following something, an emotional game like that, having to go all the way
Well,
across the country, play a team that's on fire right now offensively.
right.
There's no
And
reason for me not to take Pitt in this one.
no, there's no reason not to, and that's the biggest thing is I'm still going to take Pitt, but I really want to see what Cal's defense can do, especially in the second half, especially if it's tight at halftime or if they're ahead at halftime. Can they, learn from the mistakes that were made last week and hopefully, respond in kind, because it's tough, like you said, to fly across the country. Not nearly as far as when they had to go to Florida State, but this certainly is not as far of a flight, and they're not playing in terms of like 9 a.m. body time. They get to 12:30 their time. It's certainly possible. I don't think it's going to happen though. I've got Pitt.
Louisville and Virginia, and I will say that this has been a fun Virginia team so far this year. I've been a very noted fan of Anthony Calandria over the last couple of
Yeah.
seasons, and I love seeing that this Virginia team is getting on the right track. It feels like, and I've said this for a while now, that Tony Elliott's kind of got this team on the right path. It's just a matter of
Mhm.
how and what their true ceiling is. They're going to play a Louisville team today that is really good at taking care of the football, minus the Notre Dame game. They lost to SMU, and they lost to an SMU team that I think might be one of the best teams in the conference. Not named Miami or Clemson. Might be the best team in the conference. Not named Miami or Clemson. And so they're looking to bounce back. They go on the road. They go to Charlottesville. What can they do? I think the biggest thing they need to get back on track of doing is forcing turnovers, forcing mistakes. That's a thing that they lost out on completely in the Notre Dame game and almost kind of turned it into the opposite of how many mistakes can we make and still be in this game. They went out last week. They didn't make mistakes, but they certainly didn't force any either. And when you get a guy
Yeah.
like Kevin Jennings or even Preston Stone who doesn't worry about making mistakes, who's not uncomfortable throughout the course of the game, they're going to make things happen. And you have a quarterback today that you're going to play. Calandria does the same thing. If you are not forcing him to make a decision immediately, he's as smooth as anybody out there. I think this is going to be a really fun, close football game. I'm taking Louisville, but I'm going to take Virginia to cover in this game. 7.5. I think this is going to be a
That's a lot
touchdown or
of points.
closer.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. And like I said, you're absolutely right. I thought that Virginia was going to be improved, and so far they've been even better than I expected. Winning that game against BC last week was, one of those that I was like, man, okay, they're here making a statement. Right now, their only loss was to Maryland, and that's not looking as good as it was, back in
Yeah, Maryland
week
lost last night,
three.
didn't they?
Yes, they did. They're like 37-10.
Wow.
But either way, I mean, Virginia has definitely gotten things turned around, and you know, they just what they can't do
One
is
thing I love is like Tony Elliott was not a loved hire by any means,
right,
and especially after year one, where everybody kind of looked at Virginia like, oh man, this guy is going to be gone before it's even started,
right.
and certainly he has turned this thing around. And Cam, you were right. I'm going upset warning. I think this game is a game that you need to maybe scoreboard watch for a little bit, and then we get about
Yeah,
5 minutes to go, and Virginia's down 3 with the ball. Maybe we're turning that football game on.
I
So,
was about to say,
see.
with that being in the afternoon, it's so tough to, make sure you got enough room for the ACC network to, find a spot uh, in your multi view if you've got it. But I think Virginia hangs around in this game, but ultimately I think Louisville is going to emerge with the victory. But it would not surprise me. You both are absolutely right. Virginia, I think, is a team that could pull this one off, and it wouldn't even really be too surprising.
8 p.m. on ACC Network. I know this game is being played in Raleigh. Syracuse comes in though as a team that has a really, really stout offense. They move the ball well, and we've talked about guys like a Rondé Gadsden, but we haven't talked too much about Pena over there, who's been just as good for Syracuse as their leading receiver. 34 catches for 383 and 5 touchdowns. LaQuint Allen has been pretty solid as well at times for the Syracuse offense. I don't trust NC State to be able to score and hang around with Syracuse. I'm taking Syracuse to win. I'm taking them to cover. I think this is going to be a game that gets ugly quick.
Yeah, I was just saying, Grayson McCall obviously is not going to play after the scary hit that he took last week in the Wake Forest game. So
Yeah.
you're really looking at if CJ Bailey is going to be able to help keep NC State around. And I just don't think so. I think I really am trusting the Syracuse team, and what they got an opportunity to go to 5-1 today if they can win on the road, and I think they will. I think they'll take the win, and I think you're right. I think they cover as well.
We'll go to the Big 12 real quick, kind of roll through that. But last night, impressive stuff that we're seeing from Arizona State. I mean, they've
Mm-hmm.
given me an L on my week 0 win totals, I picked them to go under at 4.5. Thought there was no way this team is going to do it this year. I think with all the changes that were made, all the things that had to happen. Rather than that, they are now 5-1 after six
Yeah,
games, and they are looking like
it's true.
a real contender in the Big 12. I mean, this is no longer just kind of. This is no longer really a team that's like, yeah, they're going to go away at some point.
Right.
They are coming out and they're playing really good brand of football. They lost at Texas Tech, but Arizona did
That's not a
too. I
bad
mean,
loss.
multiple
And
teams
they
have
hung
lost.
around in that game.
They get Cincy on the road next week. That's going to be a good test of their physicality, I think, because Cincy loves to run the football. They're really good
Yeah,
at it. They play Oklahoma State.
that's a win.
It may not be, but it could be
Uh,
something.
The way that Oklahoma State has been playing as of late, I mean, it's
UCF in Tempe. I think they could win that
mm,
game. I think I'd give them the
absolutely
favorite in that one. At Kansas State, maybe not. BYU,
maybe not.
we'll see. At Arizona, I mean, it's going to be a close game at a minimum.
Yeah,
They have real potential to maybe get out of here. Now, there's a 7-5 here, certainly.
yeah,
There's also a 5-7 here, possibly.
right.
However,
And that's the
I
thing
don't see
about
that
how
happening.
crazy
They're playing a really good brand of football. Cam Scatabo has been fantastic.
Scatterboo.
Scatabo, whatever. It don't really matter that much, does it? No.
Well, it
but
does. I mean, probably
but
him at least.
well, either way,
As far as,
Sam Levitt's been really good too.
yeah,
Really impressive from a kid who wasn't even close to being a starter for Michigan State last season.
right.
Transfers out and just took the job, and honestly, over a guy like Jeff Sims, Trenton Bourget, who was over there last year. This is an impressive job so far. I'm excited to see what Arizona State does. Not just this year, but I think going forward, they're now a team that's kind of on people's radar going forward. 27-19 win at home. Maybe on the verge of a top 25 ranking, but honestly, I think Texas Tech's probably the more deserving team at the very moment because they've got
Well,
wins
because
over some
they,
impressive opponents.
yeah, they beat Arizona State. I think if you're looking at ranking one of those teams, especially if with Tech on their bye week, they should probably get the nod. Although it is very impressive, and this was the thing I was saying. We talked a little bit earlier in the week when Cam Rising came back and we were talking about like the line is going to jump, and I said, I mean, maybe it shouldn't because I feel like even with Cam Rising back, there is still a big time question with this Utah team and how healthy he was. You saw that in the first half, and it was really big time rushing efforts from both of those teams that was really the big difference. Scadaboo had 156 yards. You also had Micah Bernard going for 129. It was a great game between two really good running backs, and the big time thing that turned the outcome of the game is Cam Rising looked a lot better in the second half than he did in the first half, but two second half picks, three total in the game, ends up being the difference maker for the Sun Devils to get the win. So, I mean, I'm very impressed with what I've seen out in Tempe, and I expected that they would be there to compete with Utah, and they had a chance to win that game even with Rising back in company. So good for Arizona State. We'll talk about them more and more as the weeks go on.
All right, moving on to today's games. They start at 3:30. Cincinnati at UCF. This is a game that I'm excited for, but I'm really liking Cincinnati in this matchup. I think they're more physical on both sides of the football. I know UCF likes to run the ball. Cincinnati's been pretty good at stopping the run. And something that I have noticed, teams that play UCF want to make KJ Jefferson win the game. Not very often has he been able to do that throughout the course of the season. The times that he's been forced to do something, they've ended up taking a loss. I think that we're going to see a very similar deal here today. And when you look at Cincinnati, they can do it either way. You can get Corey Kiner on the ground. You can get Brennan Sorsby on the ground. But Sorsby's been really good through the air. 14, almost 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. Really great start to the year for Cincinnati. I think they're going to come out of this game at 4-2.
Last couple of times that we've seen UCF, they've been out physical at home by Colorado, and then they went on the road and a game that was there for the taking at Florida, and they really just did not have a whole lot. Like you said, they UCF was dared to throw the ball by the Gators, and it did not go the way that the Knights wanted it to. So you kind of have seen that, and that was something that we talked about going back to the TCU matchup, and unfortunately, that was just one of those things that more ineptitude from one side that allowed UCF to get back in that game. We could be talking about a UCF team that's very easily 2-3, more so than what we kind of expected preseason. I think that it's going to be really interesting if UCF can keep the passing attack of Cincinnati in check. They've got a chance to win today's game, but I don't know that I think they do. I'm really going to be interested to see this matchup and see how the Bearcats look on the road. Last time we saw them, they had struggled in a very tough, tight game back and forth with Texas Tech. I expect that Cincinnati will pull off the upset. I'm going to take the Bearcats.
We got Omar in the chat saying Cincy easy win, and he normally does
I
chime
don't
in
think it'll
during
be
the
easy,
during the
but
UCF segment. So and he's been pretty on it recently. I mean, he was back when we were talking about UCF in Colorado. He was saying that he just hopes they don't get embarrassed, and it definitely turned that way. He's been pretty on it about UCF
yeah,
recently.
I don't think it'll be easy. I really don't. But I think Cincy wins.
Arizona and BYU, we'll go quick through this one. This game in Provo at 4 p.m. I'm taking BYU to win. I think that they are the better team. I think they're going to be able to. The biggest thing they can't do is pull out to these big leads that they've been doing and kind of let the opponent back in. They need to get out to this lead if they're going to and close it out. Because this Arizona team, while they are not as good as last year, they are still as explosive as last year, and you're always going to be when you have Noah Fafita and Ted McMillan out there on the at receiver.
I think Arizona is going to be able to give BYU their first loss. There's just something that this game screams to me that Arizona is going to get to an early lead, and BYU is going to come back, but Arizona makes a play late that ends up giving the Wildcats the win.
Tonight, 8 p.m. on Fox, Iowa State goes into the Coal Rush, West Virginia, at home in Morgantown. And usually, I'm all for West Virginia at home. But this game, it's going to mean a lot to both sides. Of course, it's the Coal Rush game. This is a big deal for West Virginia, and we know that.
Mm-hmm.
But Iowa State, little do we know that Iowa State's quarterback, his dad played at West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
is being honored tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Rocco Beck wants to maybe prove something? Because you know
Rocco
West
Beck
Virginia
actually,
scheduled this for a reason, right?
yes,
So
absolutely.
100%, I'm all for this. Look, I like West Virginia. I would love to see them win this game. I really would. But as of right now, this moment, give me Iowa State. I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to win. I think they were more consistent on the offensive side of the ball. I think their defense is more consistent, which is something that we've been very concerned with West Virginia all year, especially down the stretch of a game. They tend to get worn down. And we've only seen really once where they've been able to close somebody out in a close game, and that was Kansas, where they had to come back. Let's not forget about that game, where they had to make their way back into it. Last week, they did a great job. They went on the road to Boone Pickens and just absolutely throttled Oklahoma State. And they played really well defensively there, but again, Ollie Gordon hasn't been that good. Alan Bowman has been good, but has not been great about taking care of the football. This week's going to be a really good test, and remember, they get K-State next week as well at home. This is going to be an interesting matchup, a game that I think has to be on in some regard on your TV, but it's going to be a
Absolutely,
fun
it
one
does.
for sure tonight.
So here's the biggest thing for me. I look and see what team so far in the first five has Iowa State played that is going to be very similar to West Virginia, and that was the Iowa game. Iowa was able to run 38 times for over 200 yards, 5.4 a clip, especially led behind Caleb Johnson's 25 for 187. I I think there is a path to victory the way that the Mountaineers want to run the offense behind Neil Brown. I think that there's a chance, absolutely. But the biggest thing, as you've mentioned, is the secondary for West Virginia, and they've got to be better than they were in the losses to Penn State And when they allowed Eli Holstein and Pitt to come from behind late to overtake them after they had a 10-point lead with 5 minutes to go, that's where the big time things to watch for in this game are going to play out. Is can West Virginia's secondary step up and make the necessary stops? They've dared Oklahoma State to throw the ball around because they knew they had the advantage, even though their secondary might not be as dominant in that game last week, and they ran all over Oklahoma State. So can West Virginia's rushing attack, prove something in tonight's game? And I think they can. I think as long as they can get that necessary stop, I'm going to take the upset again here. I'm going West Virginia. You won't see Iowa State move to 6-0 for the first time since '38.
Something real quick.
Okay. Last game on the Big 12 slate tonight, Tyler, is 18th ranked Kansas State at Colorado. You just had, if you're watching College Game Day, which is on behind Mr. Isley in the background there, Colorado and Coach Prime was just featured on College Game Day as both teams come into this matchup at 4-1. This is the late kick on ESPN at 10:15, and Kansas State is a 3.5 point favorite. And before you get
So
on my case about oh man, Kansas State, they got another late kick on the road, just like BYU, they're going to get ass blasted. No, I don't think that that's going to happen again.
you thought that's what I was going to say?
No, I'm talking just in general to anybody that, just pays attention to night kick and on the road for a team like Kansas
Well,
State.
I think that there's also a difference because that was their first true test on the road, and that was the first game that they walked into, and I think that they haven't really played in Provo too many times. Now, that's not to say they played in Colorado too many times, especially this regime. But K-State knows a little something about going to Colorado, going to Boulder. Remember, these two teams were Big 12 North rivals back in the day, back in the OG Big 12 days, before it got destroyed.
RIP.
Kansas State is a team that has the ability to give Colorado issues. The reason for that is because they can throw the football, but they can also run the ball, and they are much better and much more consistent of a team defensively than UCF is. And this is where this matchup, everybody's going to say, well, Colorado throttled UCF, and K-State does the same thing. No, they really don't.
Nope.
Because K-State can sustain it. K-State has the guys on the line of scrimmage that can sustain both pressure and creating a lane for a running back. And two really good ones, by the way, between DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards, and then, you got a third guy back there that can run, and Avery Johnson, who can run for 90 if he wants to on any given Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a fun game because it is on the road. It's in Boulder. It's a game that they really want to win because this puts them. They'll be 3-0 in the Big 12. Nobody's expecting 3-0 out of Colorado in the Big 12 at this point. It also likely knocks Kansas State out of the Big 12 championship race completely. They'll be 1-2. It would take all hell to break loose for them to come back. Especially, we know somebody's coming out of Morgantown 3-0 in the conference. We know somebody's coming out of. Well, we know that somebody is coming out of there either 2-1 or BYU 3-0 in conference. Texas Tech is 3-0 in conference. This is a little problematic for the loser of this game, and it's more so problematic if K-State loses this game.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Texas Tech 3-0, BYU 2-0, Iowa State, Colorado, West Virginia 3-0, Arizona State's 2-1. Somebody's coming out of Orlando at 2-1. Either Arizona or K-State, they could win and be 2-1. Like, this is already a crazy scenario unfolding early in this conference.
Just like we expected.
Well, yeah, I mean, who didn't? But it's going to be an interesting game. I'm taking Kansas State at home because I think they're just a better team overall. I think that this team is going to be able to, down the stretch, wear down Colorado, and we've seen that happen before. And the one question that I genuinely have that I don't know, I won't know the answer to. Nobody will know the answer to until we see it. can Travis Hunter sustain the amount of snaps that he's taking on both sides of the football every single week? This week, it's going to probably be more important than ever. So we'll see what happens. Omar's taking K-State along with the two
I'm
of us.
taking Kansas State as well. They're not at home, but they're on. I think that the biggest thing to me is that how much different would we be talking about Colorado had they not won that Baylor game? The way that one played out, the miraculous finish. Colorado then made a statement at UCF. I don't expect them to be able to do that. I'm going to take Kansas State as well to win and to cover on the road.
Right. All right, Big Ten, real quick. Last night, just a quick recap because this has no bearing on the conference whatsoever. Northwestern throttled Maryland, 37-10. Maryland is looking like one of the worst teams in the conference, and that's unfortunate. But I think it's going to mean the end of Mike Locksley at Maryland. So be it. I guess I can't say I'm upset about it. I mean, they gave Roman Hemby the ball 14 times and expected to win the game with Billy Edwards as a starter. I just don't see that happening. It's going to take a hell of a recruiting class and a hell of a year next year for that to continue. But Northwestern, a big win, continuing to get the job done is David Braun. Today on Fox, the game at high noon, Washington and Iowa. And look, Will Rogers has been fantastic. He led Washington to a big win over Michigan last week. Playing a very similar team with a very similar style. The only difference is I think they can throw the ball down the field, Iowa in this case. But even without that, it's hard for me to sit here and say that Washington can't do the exact same thing they did last week to Michigan, to Iowa. And the reason I say that is because Michigan's secondary is just as good, if not better, than Iowa's. Washington went out and torched them. I mean, absolutely destroyed the secondary of Michigan and pushed the ball down the field almost at will. It was really mistakes that would lead them to not converting first downs throughout the course of the game last week. I think Washington's going to come out of this game at 5-2. I think they get the win at Kinnick.
The biggest thing I don't think anybody's really talking about is this is the first time that we've seen Washington go on the road for what is going to be a 9 a.m. body time kick. And that's going to be something I think that takes them a little bit of time to get adjusted.
It's not going to be 9 a.m. Iowa's Central.
Yeah, but for Washington, it's 9 a.m. to them.
Oh, never mind. It's 12. It's 12 noon. I thought it was 12 local time.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
No.
Anyways.
No. So I think Iowa. I think that's the biggest thing that for Washington. They had the Friday night loss on the road to Rutgers, and then they lost in Seattle to Washington State. So we have not seen them in this spot where they're playing, the first game on a Saturday. And how will the offense look, especially early? Will they be able to allow Iowa to get some of that momentum early on in the game? I think Iowa ends up finding a way to win this one late. I think you're right about looking at the matchup. It just will depend on how long it takes for Washington to, kind of get out of that funk, because it's so tough for me to think that the team that has to fly halfway across the country is going to be ready for a game that kicks off according to their body clock at 9 a.m.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. That's going to be an interesting game. Another noon game. I think this game bears no weight to the conference, but Wisconsin on the road against Rutgers. Look, I think that at some point, Rutgers is going to come to a head with the fact that they also struggle to throw the football. Ethan Kaliamanis is not a guy you can rely on. And once teams start to kind of shut down Kyle Monangai, which we kind of saw last week at Rutgers, I mean, that's why they lost 14-7 to Rutgers, or to Nebraska, I should say. I think they're going to have a bit of a problem with that again this week. And Wisconsin's been able to do both. They've been able to throw the ball. They've been able to run the ball. This game being in Piscataway means nothing to me because Wisconsin's been there. They've done that. I think that Wisconsin's going to go on the road and hand Rutgers their second Big Ten loss in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that to me, I love Braden Locke, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I trust it. It's really like, do you trust Locke or do you trust Kaliakmanis more? And
Locke,
I mean,
100%.
I think you're right. I think that it's gonna be I think a pretty ugly game. I would think that if you're,
I mean, we could see a very
looking at
similar
Penn
score
State,
to last week. We
yeah,
could
it's going to
genuinely
be.
see another 14-7.
I was to say it's going to be another under for sure. Is what I'm thinking. That's the best play
I
this
would
week.
say.
So I think Wisconsin, ever
Yep.
so slightly, pulls the one.
3:30 on CBS. Penn State making a road trip. Penn State USC. No, it's not the Rose Bowl. It's regular season Big Ten Conference football.
Right.
And Penn State's going to go on the road. And the last time these two teams played was a classic in the Rose Bowl, 52-49. USC walked it off. I think in this game that we are going to see Penn State take that step forward. And when I say that, I mean that they're going to go out on the road to a tough environment. I'm kidding, only. I mean, it might be. Who knows? It's been a while since I've been out there, but last time I was there, it was okay. I think Penn State's going to go out here and take care of business. The thing that strikes me here, USC struggles to stop the run, and they struggle with running backs who are good. They struggle with Darius Taylor. They struggle with Khalil Mullings. They struggle with Donovan Edwards even to an extent in the game against Michigan. And now they got to go out there and they got to stop Nick Singleton and Katron Allen.
Yeah.
And then they got to focus on Drew Aller with Andy Kotelnicki drawing up fantastic plays, and even Tyler Warren maybe coming out there and throwing a pass. I mean, look, this is going to be a hell of a game. I'm certain that USC is probably going to stick around a little while, but at some point, Penn State's going to do just enough to take off, win this game.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and I don't even think that it's necessarily a being at home that's going to help USC more in this game. Penn State is such a good team that is much improved from what we've seen over the last couple of years. Finally, it feels like we've been talking about them having all this potential, and finally we're seeing it realized. Where we're talking about if they can get through this game, there's a really good chance that only we're one or two.
They do got
results
Herbie
next
live
week
from the
away.
plane, by the way.
What's up?
They do
Oh,
got
yeah,
him live
there
from the plane.
Holy
That's great.
cow.
All
Oh
right.
my goodness.
So we're gonna rapid
Penn State.
fire after this one, but you're taking Penn State.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm gonna
we're
take
gonna
Penn
skip
State.
the game tonight. By the way, we'll make that the last pick we do.
Yeah.
Colin, I see you in the chat. Welcome in. Purdue and Illinois. I'm not even questioning this game. Illinois. Purdue's in some big trouble.
Purdue do.
I think Ryan Walters is going to be gone as well. I know that he
was not the problem.
No, not even close. I mean, it's a talent problem, and the fact that they lost a guy like Deion Burks, I mean, it doesn't help anything.
Right.
They're in some serious trouble out there in West Lafayette.
Yes.
9 p.m. Minnesota at UCLA. I'm just trusting the team that's been better all year, that has proven themselves, and that's Minnesota. I'm going to take them to go ahead and get the win. UCLA is going to drop to 0-4 in conference play.
Give me the Golden Gophers.
Going down SEC games, we'll rapid fire the majority of these because there's some pretty lackluster games on the schedule, and unfortunately, I have to say that with Alabama and South Carolina.
Right.
South Carolina's coming in 3-2, coming off of another tough loss. I mean, they got waxed honestly by Ole Miss, and
at least you picked the right game to go to.
Right, but so South Carolina, I guess, South Carolina has this thing where they're really good at creating pressure. I don't know how much pressure they're going to be able to force on Jalen Milroe in this game. I think the Alabama offensive line is not underrated. I don't think they're overrated either. I just think that they're fairly solid in comparison to what Ole Miss has been able to do this year. And South Carolina created pressure on Ole Miss. It's created problems for Jackson Dart last week, and they were still able to just move the ball, score. They won 27-3. Ole Miss did. It's going to be less of a factor in this game. The biggest question mark is when can South Carolina start pushing the ball down the field, and when will Lenore Sellers start doing it? If it's in this game, they stick around because the Alabama secondary, as many people have noted, is not the best. They have their issues. When they were playing basically cover 4, just hey, you do whatever you want, and then they gave up, and the next thing you know, Georgia's leading. Georgia was still moving the ball down the field. They weren't just taking the dink and dunk bullshit. They had to move the ball down the field, and they did it successfully. South Carolina has the guys to do it. Mazio Bennett is a guy that can do it. Josh Simon has been fantastic over the course of this season so far, the tight end at South Carolina. We'll see what he's able to do. Nick Harbor, when are we going to see him start to take that next step? I know it's been a tough transition to be a full-time wide receiver. I know it has because we've seen the issues with route running and stuff like that. Once he can solve that problem, I mean, the guy's a track star. We know what he's capable of doing on the field. There's a reason they put him at wide receiver. But the transition's been tough, and we're going to see what he's able to do eventually. Maybe today can be the start of a breakout, but we'll see. I'm taking Alabama to win. I think Alabama's going to cover in this game. In Tuscaloosa, they are certainly pissed off that they lost last week. I don't care if this is Nick Saban's team or not. Anybody's going to be pissed off that they just lost to Vandy the way they did. So I'm taking Bama covering.
Right, and I think the biggest thing for South Carolina is, can you? You're not going to be able to replicate what Vanderbilt did, but kind of the blueprint on what was successful. You've got to be able to, move the ball. You've got to be able to, have the mobile quarterback that can hurt Alabama, as well as a quarterback that can throw the ball around and do enough against the secondary. There's a path for South Carolina to, be able to hang around in this game, like you said. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, South Carolina is not holding on to the ball for 40 minutes, and that's going to help Alabama win this game.
Missouri at UMass. Next, Missouri, obviously.
Oh, Missouri, big time.
Texas and Oklahoma. Texas coming in as 17-point favorites. A lot of people are just not expecting Oklahoma to be able to move the football. A lot of people are expecting Oklahoma to struggle because they're expecting a lack of wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Do not be surprised when Oklahoma sticks around in this game. I think 17 is entirely too much.
It is.
Just because I think that Oklahoma, with a healthy wide receiver room, can maybe stick around, can maybe make things a little interesting. Does not mean I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Texas to win, but I just would not be surprised if Oklahoma makes things interesting, to say the least.
We've seen too many times where a team in this rivalry has been a double-digit favorite. They've looked the part, and they come out and they lose, because that's what happens in a rivalry such as this one. And I fully expect that Oklahoma will hang around and keep this one close. I just don't know that I think that they're going to be in a position to be able to run up and down on Texas like they, they struggled to beat Auburn and really got some of that patented Sooner magic that was what allowed them to win that game. I don't know how much they're going to need to win this one, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get enough, but I think they hang around. I don't think they, lose by 17 or more. I'm going to take Oklahoma cover, but Texas wins.
All right. Mississippi State at Georgia. Look, I'm taking Mississippi State to cover. I think that Georgia knows what's on the horizon. Georgia knows where they're going next week. And I just think that there's going to be a little too much focus on that game next week because it means so much. And they're really not in jeopardy here. They're facing a true freshman quarterback who has very little experience. His most experience was, as a matter of fact, against Texas, I'm pretty sure, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think Georgia's going to win. I just don't think they cover, and the only reason I'm not taking them to cover is because I think that they are going to kind of get out front big and start pulling guys out of the game. Hey, look, we gotta wait for next week. Next week is when it matters the most. Keep your guys fresh.
I think if Georgia wins, it's because of their defense, and like their defense.
There's no if. Georgia's going to win this game. They are 34-point favorites.
I'm meaning cover is what I mean. Sorry.
Okay.
I said that wrong. Yeah, Georgia's winning and probably winning big. But if they cover, it's going to be because their defense has multiple touchdowns.
I think they're just going to take the air out of the ball and walk out of there with a 31-7 win. And
right.
Hey, whatever. We did our job.
Right.
So we'll see what happens today.
Very interesting.
7 p.m. on ESPN, Florida at Tennessee. And I heard this little stat from somebody. I don't know who he was.
Did.
I don't know. Don't know the guy. But
okay.
Heard he's not much of a Tennessee fan. Anyways.
Wow.
Anyways.
Oh, man.
Tennessee has not beat Florida coming off of a loss since 1971.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to update that to 2024 because they're going to beat Florida today. Look, Florida is a good team, and Florida is going to stick around. And when I say good, they're good in the scheme of, like, the college football world. I don't think you can find... Hang on, I got to find the right number. 67 teams that can beat Florida. I don't think you can find 67 college football teams that can beat Florida.
Mhm.
You can try me if you want, but
Mhm.
I don't think you can find. I don't think you can find more than 7 teams outside of any other conference, and any other P4 conference that would beat Florida on a consistent basis. There may be one or two here and there based on matchups, but beyond that, like this is still a decent team and a team that can win any given week. The only thing for me here is that I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a change. I feel like Tennessee's going to get back to what they're good at, running the football. They struggled with it last week, and they struggled throwing it too. Nico didn't look great. Made a really, really young mistake
Mhm.
last week against Arkansas by running out of bounds and not trying to get that ball to the end zone.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of demons that's going to be exercised tonight. I'm going to take Tennessee to win. Who you picking real quick? I'm sure I know the answer, but
I'm going Tennessee. I don't think this is going to be a blowout, but I'm going to take
I'm taking
Tennessee
Florida
to
to cover.
win.
But I think Tennessee
Yeah,
six it
same,
out.
same, same.
We'll skip this game, make it for last. Vandy and Kentucky tonight, 7:45 in Lexington, Kroger Field. Vandy was like a 14-point dog. I was all
Like 12
for
and a
that.
half now.
Down to 12 and a half. I don't care. I'm still taking Vanderbilt to win the game. I don't think Kentucky can do anything to Vanderbilt that Alabama couldn't do. And the difference in this game, this team's got the confidence now to go out and win games. I don't think that I've listened to this team all week about what they think they can be, what they think they are, what they are capable of doing this weekend. And it hasn't been, they haven't talked one bit about Alabama outside of Diego Pavia going on College Football Live. And they were talking and comparing him to Johnny Manziel and brought Manziel on
And then
on
Johnny
the.
Manziel showed up. Yeah.
Everything I've heard from them has been about this coming week. No matter how many times
Mhm.
people ask them about Alabama, they are focused on Kentucky. And
Yep.
let's not forget, this is kind of a rivalry game. I mean, this isn't necessarily the greatest rivalry game in the SEC, but this is a game that both these teams want to win, and Vandy's got a reason to want to win this game going forward. I think that this is an opportunity for Vanderbilt to get that fourth win, and then, hey, next thing you know, with what would it be? That'll be their sixth game. So with 6 games remaining, they got a chance to win 5 football games, and they got a Ball State team I think coming up too. So yeah, I'm taking Vanderbilt to win so they can get to 5, and then I can tell some people who didn't like my take on Vandy maybe getting to 5 this year. You know who you are. But anyways, yeah, Vanderbilt over Kentucky today.
Hey, Vanderbilt won the last time they played in Lexington. I don't think that necessarily factors into what happens tonight, but this is gonna be a really interesting game. I think the biggest thing is the Kentucky that we saw against Ole Miss going to show up again here tonight, or is it going to be more of the last time that we saw them at home when they played Georgia, where there was a little hesitancy, or maybe not the last time we saw them at home because I don't really count the Ohio game in terms of what
Yeah.
you know determines the result. I the biggest thing to me is you know is that have we seen the new improved Kentucky Mark Stoops? Is he going to be the same way that he was against Ole Miss going forward, or was that just an anomaly to prove some of his doubters wrong? I think this is going to be, the way it is going forward for Kentucky, and that gives me enough confidence to say that they win this game close. Vanderbilt covers. I'm going to take Kentucky ever so slightly to get the win on the home field.
All right. Well, going through the only real G5 game that I'm even wanting to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Army's looking for 6-0 today against UAB, and they're
They're
favored
going to
by
get it.
27. They're going to get 6-0. Do they
Yeah.
cover 27? UAB.
I'm going to take the cover for UAB.
Okay. Uh, with that said, there's 2 games we haven't talked about. We're going to
Navy
go
off
through
this
them real
week?
quick. Navy is off this week.
Okay.
Ole Miss at LSU. Ole Miss 3.5-point favorites. Jackson Dart's been really good this year. I mean, one bad game. Kentucky, the defensive line of Kentucky created a lot of problems, as did the defensive line of South Carolina, but we saw how they adjusted, how they've got quick passing game going a little bit more. They don't need to worry about the pass rush at LSU. I'm just going to tell you right now, the LSU pass rush, I don't want to say non-existent, but it's not been very good. They haven't been very disruptive in the games that they should have been. And when I say the games they should have been, I'm talking about South Carolina.
Mhm.
They were not disruptive in that game whatsoever. I am going to take Ole Miss to win. I think they finally get that monkey off their back, able to go ahead and win this game in Baton Rouge, no less.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the last time that Ole Miss won this game in Baton Rouge, it's been a while because it's one of these things that LSU has dominated the series at home. You've got to go back. The last time that Ole Miss won in Baton Rouge was 2008. But I think it changes today. I'm not necessarily concerned about LSU's defense. The biggest thing is that is going to be a tough environment. I think Ole Miss is ready for it. I think they're going to end up pulling this one out. Give me the Rebels to get the win on the road.
All right. And lastly, Ohio State on the road against Oregon tonight. 7:30 p.m. on NBC. Ohio State coming in as 3-point favorites. We know that that's probably meant to be more, but this game being on the road means a little bit to Vegas. Nonetheless, I'm taking Ohio State to win. I'm taking them to cover. I have them in my take 10 covering, and I'm going to stick to that. I think this Oregon team is good, and I think they're going to stick around for a while. But eventually, the talent, the ability of this Ohio State team is going to be what takes them over the top. Ohio State wins, covers.
Well, Bash is right that it's going to be the Buckeyes, but he's wrong that it's going to be by 50. I don't think the Buckeyes win big, but I do think that they're the better team. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to silence the crowd early on, and I think they're just going to do what they've done all year long and proving that they are deserving of being up there in consideration as the best, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Ohio State to win this one as well.
All right. Last question for you as we get out of here. Who's your Heisman favorite as of this very minute?
I'm giving love to Ashton Jeanty. I really, really hope that the Heisman folks take a look at what he's been doing because he is just such a dynamic running back. We've not seen a dynamic running back like Jeanty, in my opinion, since Christian McCaffrey, who was snubbed. Ultimately, will go down in one of the biggest missed Heisman, you know, that they could have given to the wrong guy. I think that Ginty is definitely deserving. The other candidates right now that I think you can make the case for are Jeremiah Smith, and if you're looking at non-quarterbacks, I think he's having a really good year. I mean, Ryan Williams is up there as well, but
I don't
one
think
of those
so.
two guys, I think.
But anyways,
Yeah, I was just saying
the
one of
the
those.
stats are cool and the highlights are cool,
Mm-hmm.
but Jeremiah Smith's stats are not Heisman stats in 2024. Just being completely honest. Now, and I said this preseason, and I'm sticking to what I said,
Mm-hmm.
which is that I don't think anybody from Ohio State is going to win a Heisman Trophy in 2024 because I think there's too many guys to spread the ball to, spread the love to. Everybody's
Right.
going to get something, and even the two running backs, even the quarterback, like everybody
Right.
has their part, and everybody's playing it so well that nobody's going to stick out. Nobody's going to be a Heisman favorite. Jeremiah Smith, he's got 23 catches for 453, 6 touchdowns. He's made the special plays absolutely. He's a very good wide receiver, and he's going to be a Biletnikoff finalist, but he's just not a favorite in the Heisman. It's not going to happen. He may finish top 10. He might. Will Howard may finish top 10 just because of who he's getting the opportunity to give the ball to. So that's where I stand on it. It's no disrespect to Jeremiah Smith. I think he's going to be in New York at some point in his career, just not this year. It's not going to happen. There's too much around him.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other guy, though, I will say, I think deserves some love for the Heisman. I mean, Travis Hunter's been fantastic, and he's playing so many snaps on both sides of the ball, and he's doing it at a very high level. It's very hard to be upset about. So, with that said, it's noon, so we need to get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Enjoy your college football Saturday.
Yeah. I'll be back to Monday. Monday, I'll do a live stream probably early morning, and then I'll get the video out after that. Just taking a look back at what we saw over this weekend. I will not go live on Sundays anymore. I made mention of that because I just need a day to sit back and relax. Yeah. Blue Jackets plays tonight. I know your Stars play the Islanders later tonight. So
Well, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm glad we got the win in Nashville to start off the year 1-0. It was a really
yeah.
good matchup between Ottinger and Wedgwood. Wedgwood, who was the backup
I was
goalie for his
one
first
leg of my
team.
parlay off hitting the other night, and it was Jason fucking Robertson. I needed one more shot on goal. One more shot on goal. He had a goal early in the game. I figured maybe he'd get one more.
Man,
Didn't happen. But anyways,
sounds good.
all that said, I'll see you guys Monday.
All fun.
Thank you for hopping in, BJ. We'll enjoy this
See you
college
next week.
football Saturday.